How's it going? I'm Jared Gillis. Welcome to another All About RVs. There's so many products out there, so many things for RVers that help make the RVing process better, more comfortable, easier, whatever it is. There's a ton of RV accessories out there, but sometimes you find a product that is better, or you don't use a product near as much as you once did maybe. So there's a handful of RV accessories that we're just not really using anymore. And that's what we're talking about today. These are the propane tank sensors that we used to use. They're actually pretty cool. They magnetize to the bottom of these DOT tanks that you see on like travel trailers and fifth wheels. And it tells you how much liquid is still, how much propane you still have in those tanks. So it's a really neat idea. The main reason we stopped using them is the battery inside them goes dead so fast that I just got tired of changing them out. And the propane tanks also have to sit up off the ground so that there's room for this to not get crushed underneath there. And I lost some of those and I didn't raise it up on here. So it's just one of those things that I just kind of got tired of dealing with it, especially on the battery side of things. The other thing is when we were using the propane the most in the cold weather, the cold seemed to affect this, and it wasn't as accurate on the cold nights when I was trying to check how much was in there. When it'd warm up during the day, it would give me an accurate measurement, but it was just one of those things. When we're using the propane the most, I wanted it the most accurate. We actually did run out of propane once after we got rid of the system, and we haven't used it. It was on my to-do list. I just forgot to do it. But in the middle of the night, it was definitely a reminder when the nights were down in the teens, and it got quite chilly in the RV. So it was definitely a good reminder, but we just do it the old-fashioned way. If we're using propane, I come out and I see if there's any condensation on the tank, and you can see where that line is, and that's how much propane you still have in there. Or if you aren't using it right then, if you come out with a cup of warm water, you can pour it down the side. You could also put those manual gauges on there, but for us, we're just doing it the old-fashioned way, and when one goes empty, we just go and fill it up, and so we always have a tank of propane. So on to the next thing. Now, these next two have to do with the drain system. So we just use a typical drain piece connection here when we hook up to the RV. We used to use the kind that would have an additional flushing system back here at the end where you could hook up a hose to it and you can flush through the rest of the system. But so many RVs nowadays come where you can just flush your tank when you're done, and you don't have to worry about that. Or you can flush the toilet a few times or put the wand down there. The problem that I had with that is it always seemed to leak eventually, and I got tired of those leaking, so I just went with a standard type of a fitting without the additional garden hose attachment. So just a simple switch up on that one. Now, the hose that we use for our drain system is we used to use this kind, and they just don't hold their shape very well, and that was kind of the problem that I had with them. If it was cold, it was hard to get them to stretch out and go the full length of what they have to offer, so I wasn't always able to hook up, but then when it would warm up, they would stretch, and then they would sag in between where it's sloping. So we switched to this type of a hose, and it works really well because it holds its shape and it holds its form a lot better, and it has some properties where it's just easier to use. You don't get that sagging in between there. You can shorten it up, lengthen it, and it's not as dependent on the temperature, which is very useful. Now, this is just a mid-grade drain hose, so there's definitely ones that are more expensive than it. There's ones that are also cheaper than it, but this one just works well. I don't feel guilty about replacing it if I have to, because it's not a real expensive one, and but it works well. It holds its shape, easy to set up, and I don't have to mess with it that much. That's what I want in a drain hose. I don't want to have to mess with it that much. I just want it to be able to put it in position and have it work. So we are keeping this guy around. I will replace it with one like that once this one finally gives up the ghost. This was one that we had left over that we hadn't used too much. We keep this around in case we have some extra distance that we need to cover if the connection's really far away. So it works in the meantime, but when we have to replace it, we're definitely replacing it with one like this where it just retains its shape. Works well. Now, this next one is, we're actually probably going to buy an RV accessory to stop doing what we're doing here, but we want to stop buying these little these propane cylinders and wasting these all the time. So rather than buying these and wasting them all the time, we're gonna end up getting the line to be able to connect into our DOT tanks. Now, if you just have an RV and you already have an auxiliary port, they have a line so that you can connect in and be able to use your barbecue with your RV and not have to buy these little cylinders all the time and waste them. For one, it's more convenient. Two, the propane's gonna be a lot cheaper doing it that way. And three, like I said, you're not gonna be wasting these all the time. It's okay to have one of these on hand. Sometimes you don't want to barbecue right next to the RV. Sometimes you want to go to some picnic tables or something like that. And this comes in handy if you don't want to lug around the bigger propane cylinder. But if we don't have to buy these all the time, that is a plus with this. Now, the next thing is also something that you have to buy repetitively when you RV, and that's RV toilet paper. But the catch is you don't have to buy the RV specific toilet paper all the time. You can stop buying the RV specific toilet paper. Now, my advice to you is to find one that still breaks down just as well as the RV toilet paper. So if you find one that you would like to use, you just kind of run it through a test. This test has been around for a while. You just put it in some water and we're gonna shake it around a little bit to see how it breaks down once it hits the water. If you're looking for some toilet paper, I suggest first looking at Septic Safe. Usually that stuff breaks down really well. It's meant for something like that. It's a good place to start, but then just run it through a test and then just give it a good little shake. You can see that this stuff broke down really well. I mean, it's just mush in there. So if you're gonna have toilet paper in your black tank in your RV system, you want it to dissolve quickly. You don't wanna have something that you put in there doesn't really break down. It can cause issues, and that's the last thing you wanna do when you're trying to get out there and enjoy RVing, is dealing with some kind of toilet paper or something in your black tank that didn't break down. So you don't have to buy the RV specific toilet paper, but buy some that breaks down well. That's my 2 cents on toilet paper for RVs. Now, this last one that we have is definitely the one that's more for full-time RVers, and that is our Wi-Fi Booster. This is how we got free Wi-Fi for 2 years as we traveled around, and it works really well. It gets out there and it gets that signal and allows you to connect up to the Wi-Fi in RV parks. The reason why I'm not using it anymore is because the Wi-Fi at RV parks is usually terrible. There's not enough to go around to everybody. The service isn't that good, and you're on a public network. So doing away with this, not using this anymore, and going with a hotspot definitely makes sense for us. Now, if you're one that's just going out on weekends, or you're using it as a vacation and you're not full-time in your rig, these things, and maybe even the hotspot, isn't probably something that you want. You probably want to unplug from all those kind of things and get away from it all. Well, that's the RV accessories that we're really not going to be using anymore. Not too bad considering all the things that we've bought for the RV and that we use all the time. This is really our list of things that we're like, we should probably find something better than what we originally started out with. So that's gonna do it for today. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you wanna see more videos about RVing, hit that subscribe button. And if we don't see you on the road, hopefully we will see you in the next video.